Today's recipe is my take on a childhood favorite, vegan Salisbury steak. And the star of the show is lentils. Lentils are packed with a whopping 17.9 grams of protein and 15.6 grams of fiber in every cup. Excellent, excellent. We're going to add to that some panko breadcrumbs. I'm using whole wheat breadcrumbs today, although you can use white breadcrumbs or any kind of breadcrumbs that you'd have. Panko is the crispy kind. To that, we're going to add some vital wheat gluten. If you follow a gluten-free diet, this is not the recipe for you. But gluten is what they pull out of wheat to make it nice and fluffy, but this is a staple in most vegan diets. We're going to add some superior dark soy sauce, although you can add any kind of soy sauce you'd like. There's dark, there's light soy sauce, the flavors will be the same. We're adding pure black pepper, as well as Himalayan pink salt. So we're going to start with our lentils, which you can mash with the back of a fork. You want to leave a little bit of texture, but not much. You're going to add your vital wheat gluten. This will be the basis of our meat before we add all of the seasonings. We're also going to put the breadcrumbs in at this time. Total, it was 2 cups of lentils, 1 cup of vital wheat gluten, and 1 cup of breadcrumbs. To that, we're going to add our vegetable broth. I use water and Better Than Bouillon. I absolutely love this stuff. Better Than Bouillon. We're going to add a little bit of liquid smoke. A little goes a long way, so you don't want to put too much of this liquid smoke in there. But we are using 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of the soy sauce. Yes, I ran out of soy sauce while recording this. That's alright. Use what you have. You might find that it might be too salty for you. If you like the flavor, add some more next time. We're going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt as well. Soy sauce already has a lot of salt, so you don't really need that much. And as far as pepper is concerned, about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. If you like things spicy, then feel free to add more. And mix really well. I would start with a spatula or a spoon just to incorporate some things, but at some point you're going to need to get your hands in there and incorporate the lentils and the seasonings and the breadcrumbs and the vital wheat gluten. Just get your hands in there and get dirty a little bit. It's not a particularly sticky dough, which is good, very different than when you're making bread, but you do want to try to get all the lentils that you can into this dough. Once you've incorporated everything into the ball, then you can begin to peel it apart, or at least break off pieces. Those pieces would be the size that you would like your steaks to be. Today we're making 5 steaks. So you just want to further bring them into a ball, and then you would like to shape them. You can shape them with your hands, you can shape them with a rolling pin, but Salisbury steak has its own shape, so it doesn't matter what shape you make it, it's still going to look good. Done. Let's get started on our gravy. Who does not love a wonderful thick gravy? So in this gravy we have 8 ounces of mushrooms, we have about 3 cloves of garlic. If you'd like more, you can add more. And we're going to cook that down. Mushrooms have a lot of liquid, so it takes a little while to get all the liquid pulled out of here, but just put it on medium to high heat and let it cook. You don't want it to burn, you want it to cook nice and slow to get all the liquid out of the mushrooms. We're going to season it up a little bit. I use nature seasoning. My mom put it on everything, and I just thought it went really well here. We're going to later season up the gravy itself, but when you're cooking the mushrooms, I think it's good to add a little bit of something. I think I used a little bit of sage in here. I might have thrown some rosemary. Whatever you have in your cabinet that you would like to try, just put it in there. You can't go wrong with this gravy. Smell that. Ooh, I wish you could. Once you've cooked them up, then you can remove those from the heat. We're going to use the same pan to make the gravy. And the little bits that's stuck in the pan, we'll just add the flavor. So a little bit of olive oil to the pan, and we're going to begin to make, cook our steaks. And there are multiple ways that you can cook these steaks with vital wheat gluten. You can pan fry them, which is what we're doing now, and it's really not a lot of oil at all. Some people boil theirs because, again, this has dough. It's a dough, okay? And then other people put them in the oven. For today's recipe, I did it 2 different ways. I have 3 in the frying pan, and you'll see later that I'm putting 2 in the oven. You want to cook them till they get, I would say, brown on both sides. It doesn't have a coating on it, so it's not going to get crispy, but at least it'll be cooked, okay? Cooking them in this pan will get you a different texture than these other 2. These 2 here are going in the oven. And the ones in the oven are going to have a little more firm texture, so I would encourage you to try them both to see which kind or which way you liked. Half of my family liked them better on the top of the stove, and then the other half liked them better in the oven. I personally like them in the oven, but I wanted it a little more texture. I've made some of these before in the boiling water, and my mother liked those, so you never know. Once you have them thoroughly cooked, you're going to remove them from the pan. Now we're going to begin our gravy. Your gravy has your flour and all kinds of seasonings. We have sage and thyme, and salt and pepper are the seasonings. The liquid part is more water, and the earth balance and flour will get it nice and thick. So just start with your vegan butter. We use about 3 tablespoons of butter and about 3 tablespoons of flour. Most gravy is sort of 1-to-1. Okay, however much flour you put in is how much fat you put in, and that is what will get you started. Once you mix the flour and the fat and combine that up really well, it'll thicken a little bit, but that's okay. It's going to thicken even more once you add other things. Let's flavor this now. We're putting our seasonings in. As I mentioned, we have our sage and thyme and salt and pepper, sort of like adding layers of flavor. And then you're going to put in your broth, which again is water and better than bouillon. And just begin to stir. Clearly a whisk would work better. And as you whisk this, you're going to just get the lumps out, and there aren't actually very many lumps in here, but you see those bubbles right there? That means your gravy is thickening up. This is going to be good. Wish you could smell it. There it is. Nice and thick. I like gravy to be thick enough that if I pour it off of that spoon, I still see some. But you want to taste it first, okay? Then add your mushrooms in, mix it well, turn it down, and the gravy is done. So now all we need to do is add our steaks into the gravy. Now you can cook these a little longer if you like and let it sort of bubble and get all the other flavors and herbs and seasonings in there. Or pretty much the meal's done. I just like smothered gravy and mushrooms. Man, that's good. It's almost a complete meal here. I talked about how much protein is in the lentils. We talked about how much protein is in your vital wheat gluten. We have some vegetables. We have our mushrooms in there. We're gonna have a little bit of side dish also, but this is the main event. Gotta make it cute with a little bit of herbs on the top. You see the bubbling happening in the gravy? Now that's a good meal. So let's plate it up. My family eats rice almost every day, so we always have to start with rice and some vegetables on the side. This is a vegan meal. Never thought it would look like that, huh? So we have our vegan Salisbury steak, we have some rice, I have a little vegetable medley there on the side with some cauliflower and green zucchini and yellow zucchini. And dinner is served. Okay, so I had to try it on Brubman, right? He said it smelled good, said it looked good. It's a winner. His eyes are closed. Yeah. Thanks for watching.